Alright, so before I get this actual video started, I already recorded the meat of the video. This is just going to be like what I put before the video. I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks not really focusing on the development of the card game because I have a laptop coming in within like 4 to 5 days, and it's going to allow me to do all the stuff that I have been able to do, like edit videos to a higher quality, actually have programs that don't crash on me, like the simplest programs crash on me, and I also want to take the time to transfer some of that stuff over to that laptop so that I can do what I need to do in order to make things look a little bit better. Um, so yeah, I'm still going to do some drawing videos. I'll definitely focus on that while this computer is arriving, or laptop is arriving. So for anybody who hasn't seen me do any drawing videos in a while, that's something to look forward to. Now on with the video. Okay, so here is a checklist I made of what happened during yesterday's playtesting. It didn't go, it didn't go terribly. It went on too long, which is up here. What this is going to be my game debug, quote unquote debug checklist. I want to try and check these off so that the game can work better. So I'm going to go through the too long, the TLDR version of this, which is yeah, the game was too long. We didn't finish it, so I want to make the game a little bit short. I want to try and figure out how to make the game shorter before I change all this other stuff. Too many resources. There was the objective of the game is to attack an opponent while they have no monsters, and there was never really a point where there was no monsters on the field. There was always at least one or two monsters on the field, and three other monsters on standby for the opponent to use. So I got to change that. In terms of too many resources. Oh wait, no, I just said that. Too many resources. Uh, in terms of lack of explanation, I did not explain the rules very well. I did not give a demonstration of how the game was supposed to play beforehand. We just kind of jumped into it, and that was my fault. Deck diversity. We didn't get that far because the game was too long to test out other decks. We just got to the point to where we were both fatigued and just had to end the game. So I definitely want to test the other decks before I even can make a large consideration of what to do with the rest of this. So I am still looking for other playtesters as well to try and see what can be done. Because if I can find a regularity in what people find difficult, then yeah, that's I know that's something that I have to change rather than something that I have to like take a gamble on. So now that that's said, that's pretty much the short version of it. And this is going to be the longer version. So if you don't want to stay for this part, you don't have to. It's only like 2 minutes, so that was good. Uh, too long didn't finish. Too long didn't finish. We didn't have the ability to get rid of our opponent's monsters fast enough. There wasn't enough damage output. There wasn't enough damage removal resources, and I was afraid that if I did that, it would be too easy. It wasn't easy at all. It was very difficult. It was very time consuming. So that's good to know. That's very good to know because that means that I can just make these cards stronger, which again that's great. Uh, in terms of too many resources, uh, so there's a rostering mechanic I have where you put the creatures from your hand to the side on the field before you summon them. You put them there, and then on the next turn, you're able to play them if you want. Uh, the uh, the person I was playing found it to be a little too confusing. It just seemed to be they just thought it was a second hand, and there was a point where they referred to it as a prize, like a prize card area, much like Pokemon, and that's not really what it was. Um, because now that I'm thinking about how Pokemon plays, that I guess that would make sense. You know, you attack a monster, you grab a monster from the roster and play it. Yeah, that's not what that was. The roster is pretty much your second hand, but it's to keep you from just throwing cards from your hand to the field in one turn. You have to take it in. You have to take a whole nother turn to summon it, while while keeping up the while keeping up the maintenance of the current team you have. So I have to make it. I have to make the roster a little bit more restricting. While as opposed to the field, the player or the person I played, they felt as if the roster, not the roster, the field was too restricting. There wasn't enough creatures on the field to do enough damage to anything, and I can agree with that. My, again, my concern was having too much power and just ending the game downright within like the first 2 or 3 turns, which I don't really see that being a big issue. Now that I've actually played it, it's like, okay, well, if the game does end in like 1 or 2 turns, that's fine because there's a lot to do with this game. So I am going to change. I am definitely going to change that because those are mechanics rather than actual card stuff. Like I can just say the cards do this instead now, and that would be fine. Like I can say the cards can attack and do an ability rather than just attack or do an ability, and it would be fine. I can say that the roster does this instead of that, and it'd be fine because that's not the card; it's the roster. So I'm definitely going to try that, uh, and and quite possibly make some of these cards have more in terms of just straight up removing cards or just straight up having high point damage on cards. And speaking of damage, we also talked about maybe changing the stats of the cards to, instead of a 5 point system like 5, 10, 15, and 20, it turns into like a 1 point system like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and up and up. I kind of want to try and expand on power, so I don't know if that would work better in the long run, because then you would have stuff like, 30 points, and then, well, would it work? I don't know. I'd have to check, so I can't really say much on that. I can just say that I did worry about that when I first started this game. So I can't say that that's something I'm against because it was something I thought about when this game was in its infancy. So that is something I want to look at. Uh, and again, because the 2 decks we played were very defensive heavy, it was not as easy getting things off of the board. Uh, so yeah, too many resources. Lack of explanation. I did not explain the rules very well. I did not. I went in expecting the player to already know how most of the rules went, and then just explaining a few things along the way. But that's not what happened. We kind of got turned around a couple of times as to who did what, when, who did what, and when. So what I had was a thing called shared phases. Shared phases pretty much like turns, except both players do them instead of just having one player do something and then the other player do something, then the one player do something. It would be a lot more condensed, or a lot more condensed but stretched out. So what would happen was that in the first step, you would do something, then your opponent would do something. You would start that step, your opponent would end that step, then you go into the next step. Then you would do that, your opponent would end it, and then so on and so forth. I thought it would be a cool thing to do, but it did get a little confusing, and I guess that was because I wasn't assertive enough in the explanation, and then I got confused. So I'm gonna double down on trying to explain that during the game and even before the game. But one thing that again, this is something that I thought of when I first started the game, but I wasn't too sure about it. The player said that um, drawing a card during the draw phase and then drawing a card during the set phase kind of confused them. So I changed that to be where the draw phase is where you draw all of your cards, at least manually. That's where like the mandatory draw stuff happens. If there's a card that says to do something at this point in time, then that's when you would draw during that other phase. But yeah, so the draw phase is going to be condensing um, your drawing of the cards, which yeah, sure, that's fine. Um, we were stepping. It was there was a lot of points where we were just like stepping on each other's toes, pretty much doing this and that, this, that, and the third at the same time. Which, oh, excuse me. I hope that wasn't. It probably was heard. Um, we were stepping on each other's toes, which that's what made everything confusing. What was supposed to happen was that one player goes first, and then another player does a thing, and then we move on to the next step. But it was always we were always jumping the gun on each other, and again, I have to try and clarify that better so that it works good because I feel like if I can make that mechanic work, it'll be a really good mechanic. Um, Anything else? Uh, Not that I can think of. And in terms of lack of explanation, that was pretty much it. It was just that was all on me. I didn't explain it well enough, so it got the player confused, and I got confused, and none of us really got into got into doing anything. Deck diversity. This is the big one. So I've explained this a couple of times in the video. I did not have we did not have that much in differing abilities when it came to our decks. We both played very defensive-ish type of decks. He did have he they I don't know. They did have more in terms of attack power, and I never actually got what the main point of the deck was to do off because my creature pretty much fell down. My creature pretty much fell before I could get it off, which that was just a poor that was just a poor happenstance of not getting the draw. That basically. So yeah, there was that. There was that. What also happened was that we did not exactly utilize our event decks, which is that's where all the extension of activities and plays happens. And because of that, the game was a lot slower. The game didn't have as much damage, which now that I think about it, that's where all the damage came from. So I kind of have to. So I'm definitely gonna have to try this deck again with someone and use it, utilizing all the cards to see what would happen. But there's also that thing of not of if you don't want to use those cards because you don't have to, running into this issue. So basically, just to keep this short because it's already like 11 minutes long, what I want to do is I want to try this again. But I want to try this again, taking into consideration all the problems that happened beforehand. I did not explain the rules well enough. The decks did not seem diverse. I'm going to try to I'm going to explain what the decks do to the player before we to the next player before we play the game, so that they understand what this, that, and the third does, and so we can get a little bit of a differentiation going on. And if it's still too similar, if it's still too weak and restricting, or thing anything like that, that's when I'll go into overhaul of changing what the cards can do. I do want to make the card stronger, so that's definitely going to be something that happens after I get more playtesting done. And what else is there? I think that's it. Um, I just need to play this game again, and I need to make sure that all the decks get their. Where's my mic? Oh, I need to make sure that all the decks get their time to shine, and that the whole game's rendition, rendition. The whole game's evaluation isn't just based on these two decks that never actually finished the game. Because I feel like it wouldn't be quite fair to. I think I just said this. I don't know, but I feel like it wouldn't be fair to just quite change the game because there were certain pieces that didn't work rather than all the pieces or a majority of the pieces not working. Because again, this was 2 out of 5 decks that we played, and they were very similar. So I do realize I have to change those, but the rest of them didn't have their time to show off what they can do. So um, yeah, all in all, all everything that I was told, I took with great consideration. I took it with what's the word? Thankfulness? I don't know. I took it well. I didn't have any problems with what they said. I understood it, and yeah, that's basically it. That all I have to say is like I understood where the player was coming from. I got to do better on making all this stuff happen, or and because this is gonna be my checklist, I'm gonna make sure that I clear all this stuff off. So first thing first, I'm gonna take off too long. Too long didn't finish. I want this game to be as short as possible while being as fun as possible, and while not being too short to the point that it's pretty much like a modern day Yu-Gi-Oh where your opponent does something and the game is over. Which is why I thought of the shared resources or the shared phases thing, because if both opponents can do things at the same time, then yeah, if both opponents can do something at the same time, then there's more of an opportunity to actually have a game going rather than an opponent doing something and then boom, you're done because you just didn't get to pop off how you wanted to pop off. Um, Too many resources. If the game is still too long, I will cut down resource management. But I am changing resource management anyway, so that might not need to happen. Lack of explanation. Again, that's me. I will have to do that. So, and then deck diversity is still questionable because we did not try them all. We only tried two. Technically, we only tried one because we each only tried one deck each. But yeah, um, this is pretty good. Like I did not feel mad. I did not feel frustrated. I did not feel angry for any of this. I'm taking this in because this is a product I want to be physical, and I want people to play and understand and enjoy and to have continually going. And if I'm standoffish about it, then I'm not going to make any progress. So with that said, that is it for now, and I will actually. Um, I am going to take a break from these for about 2 weeks because I should have a laptop coming in within 5 days, 4 days now, and that's I'm gonna be able to just take what I have here and put it on there, and then I can even edit videos and stuff and do actually make a slideshow. Like I can actually do the most basic thing now without it crashing. So yeah, I'm gonna stop with that, but I will go back to doing drawing videos just because I haven't done those in a while, and it'd be something to do. And because the game's technically, it's obviously it's far from being done, but it is finished to where if I want to test it out, I can. So yeah. With that said, that's it. See you in the next one. See you in the next one, which will be a drawing video of some kind.